I couldn't decide what chapter to paint my Leviathan Marines, so I chose all of them. Hey folks, Autumn Witch here, and yes, I shall be doing some converting and kit bashing on the brand spanking new Marines in the Leviathan Box to be part of the Deathwatch. I'll be focusing on the Marine characters from the box, as they each represent a different layer of complexity when it comes to converting them. As someone with a 3D printer and a dozen or so overflowing bits boxes, I have a lot of stuff to choose from for these conversions. Firstly, I go through the boxes and grab any pieces I already have that I think will be useful: heads, alternative weapons, shoulder pads, accessories, etc. Then I trawl my STL archive and grab some things like chapter specific shoulder pads and heads that will suit the chapter the Marine is originally from. Those only take a few hours to print. Most of what I print will be available elsewhere in other kits, but because I have it, I'm going to use it. So, the Apothecary is the most straightforward and won't require any 3D printed parts. All he really needs to convert into Deathwatch is to replace the left shoulder pad with a Deathwatch one. The pad itself is separate from the left shoulder, and the small part of the left arm attached to the pad is easily removable with some careful knife work. The pad is then glued to the rest of the arm. I then look at the model and see if there's anything else I want to change. The servo arm on his backpack is a little too flat the way that it is moulded, so I cut it off at the joint and reposition it slightly to make it look less static. Given the symbol on his right pad where the chapter badge would normally be, I am going to have to find another way to hint at his parent chapter, but for now I shall leave it there, clean and simple. Unlike the Apothecary, I know what chapter the Librarian is from. Runic armour and classy facial hair, he's totally a space wolf. Indeed, it won't take much to wolf him right up. However, his shoulder pauldrons present an issue in turning him to Deathwatch. They're of a slightly larger scale than the previous Terminator/Gravis standard, and so I decided to try upscaling some digital Deathwatch pauldrons to fit. Fortunately, the shoulder pads on both Librarian and the Captain are separate pieces, and so a little filing and some trial and error gives him a suitably scaled pauldron. As for his right one, the box comes with some really nice transfers, including Space Wolf Terminator ones, which will adorn his right shoulder when painted. Now for a little more flavour. I printed some small wolf pelts, although other Space Wolf kits come with plenty of their own, and add a skull and key on chains from the Empire Flagellants kit. Since he is the only character without any decor on his base, I decided to pop him on a pile of cork rock, and I used the Swarmlord skull, which was a spare from the Hive Tyrant kit, to make his base look a little bit more badass. Now the Phobos Lieutenant, like, share and subscribe Tenant, the one with the combi weapon, is a little more tricksy. Unlike the others, his left pauldron is moulded on. This is the case for the rest of the infantry in the box too, and if I want them to look like proper Deathwatch Marines, there is going to have to be some serious chopping, which can be quite daunting. I have given him a 3D printed Deathwatch pad with a notch above the elbow to better accommodate the cables on his arm. I start by clipping away little by little and testing the shoulder against the new pad. I then whittle and file it, trying the fit until it goes on. Like the Apothecary, his right pauldron is covered with detail, so it will be harder to show his parent chapter, so this will have to be done in other ways. In this case, I want him to be a blood angel, and I will show this by the type of head I choose for him. I already have plans for the original head, so that goes aside, and now we have an angry looking blood angel with a mane of thick, luscious blonde hair that makes Gilliman's Barnet look like Boris Johnson's in comparison. And now we come to the Captain. I have decided he is going to be a White Scar. as I have several bits from the White Scar upgrade kit kicking about, and White Scars are cool. First, the neck area on the armour is flat with a peg to fit with the original head. Since I am using a White Scar's head from the upgrade kit, I shall need to clear some space. I remove the peg and trim down the neck of the head, test fitting the head at regular intervals to make sure it will fit but not sit unnaturally. While I have the upgrades to hand, I use a small accessory to adorn the belt area, along with some bits from the flagellant sprue and some 3D printed ones too. For the left shoulder pad, it's a case of carefully cutting away the parts that are attached to it and replacing it with another scaled up 3D printed one. Then it's a case of cutting and filing the underside of the shoulder until it fits. I then restore the extra pieces back onto the new pad and arm. His right shoulder pad can be adorned with a transfer easily enough. The biggest change to the model will be his weapon. The sword looks great, but it doesn't really fit with the White Scar's aesthetic. I gathered a lance from the Grey Knight's Terminator's kit, and you'll see that in a moment. I want to keep the sword intact for later use, so I decided to take off the entire hand. Now that is done, I can dry fit the lance, and when I have a position I like, I glue it on. I attach some more odds and ends and accessories, and he is good to go. So yeah, that's the 4 characters, each with different amounts of conversion work. I'm happy with how they look and are now ready for painting, which shall be the subject of my next video. If you have enjoyed this vid, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon to be notified when the next video is released. A like and share would also be greatly appreciated. Thank you for being here, and I'll catch you next time on Bleeding Tree Gaming.